Hello, it's Noel G. Whelan from NGW Inform. This podcast is brought to you, inspired by you, for the people, from the people. It's for you. So welcome to the show today. I've got my good buddy here. All the way from Sweden, we got Jonas here, and my sidekick. And we're going to have a good, what we call a verbal dialogue today. So let's crack on, Jonas.
Thank you for having me on again.
You're most welcome.
Hi guys, it's a pleasure to be here with you now. I wanted to start talking about going on, because it's holiday times, it's summertime and I want to go traveling. But I would just want to start with something happened today, or late last night.
Yeah.
I just want to get your take on the headline news topic of the day. And that is obviously Iran's president crashed in his helicopter, and apparently it was a fatal crash.
Yep.
And what's your take on that? Was that an accident or was it deliberate?
It's a very good question, and it's something that a lot of people are asking at the moment. I've had many calls about this today. If you think about this, I've seen the footage today of the crash. I was watching the television and the news. Now, what happens is anybody who's actually flown in helicopters a lot, like I have, you know that they're actually tricky things and they tend to crash quite a lot. So when you're actually traveling in a helicopter, the conditions can change very fast. 1 minute he was in the Azerbaijan border and he's moving back across his territory. But you do notice in the video footage there's a lot of mist. I actually lost some friends in a helicopter crash.
But you're not supposed to fly in mist, are you?
Well, you're not supposed to fly in a mist, that's the question, because you can't see where you're going. You can see where you're going on radar, but you need a picture for landing. Now, when you're actually travelling and the temperature changes, and especially in the high mountains, when there's actually altitude and the temperature changes, you're going to have mist. It's not a good condition to fly a helicopter.
No.
The trick is the skill of the pilot to know where to land, how to land, but seeing where to land, that's a different thing.
But you would assume that the pilot flying was probably a military pilot.
Well, you would assume he was a military pilot, but you've also got to understand human error. We're quite fallible people. We have air crashes quite a lot of the time. Not a lot of the time, but it usually comes down to either mechanical failure or to human failure. But also, let's argue it from another perspective. So if you're going to actually go and target, like in a war, and you want to take out a leader of your opposition, well, there's going to be 3 pieces of information you're going to need. Who, where, when. Triangulation, person, place and time.
But he wasn't universally loved in his country, was he?
Well, I don't think he was universally loved in his country or anywhere else. However, a sad thing is, a life has been lost.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't comment on this.
My point is that it probably must have been some sort of threat picture towards him.
There was a threat picture. I mean, he's just had conflict. 2 countries, Israel and Iran, have been at each other as both belligerents. So you can be guaranteed that people are going to be looking deeply into this, and the world is in a bit of expectation. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world at the moment. Anyway, this is just going to raise the stakes and the games. My belief is, looking at this and that location and the conditions and the flight condition, he's a major head of state. He had to go and meet another head of state on the way back. The helicopter went down. It's not the first time in history leaders of countries have actually crashed.
No, I know, but I was just thinking, considering the world tensions at the moment, from my point of view, which are not initiated at all, it seems like that probably was deliberate. You would assume that, but it could have as easily just been a pilot error.
It's quite plausible, for sure. I mean, you think about that, but they'll be able to know very sure if it was a military action, because they'll have debris, they'll have refuge, they'll have wreckage. They'll be able to tell by the burning. They'll be able to tell about the state of the wreckage retrospectively. Also, if it was mechanical, they'll have a whole system of reverse engineering the helicopter flight to find out, was it mechanical. My initial thinking is that this is human error.
Okay.
On behalf of the pilots.
And we probably will know pretty soon anyway.
I think so. I think so, because if Iran finds something that's untoward, they will absolutely want to broadcast it to the world. But we've got to also look at it as well as Israel. Would Israel have that determination to actually strike at the leader of another nation? Although in military warfare, the doctrines actually is to take out the leaders of the opposite nation. We've seen that through history. But at this state in this time, would they do it? It's very interesting. My instinct tells me this is a natural error.
Do you think I'm just gonna name drop it. Do you think Israeli intelligence, they probably looked at ways of taking out Iranian heads of states before? You would just assume that. So do you think there is a political advantage, even though maybe it's not true, that Iran will try to accuse another state for being involved? Is that likely to happen now?
You can look at this at the state level, and you can look at in statecraft level, but you've got to ask yourself, what would it achieve right now for the state of Israel? So what happens is they create an action, but what this would create militarily is a massive overreaction. Because you think about this, the Houthis have a large force that are gathering today as militias who want to attack Israel. Everyone's wanting to attack Israel at the moment. Israel, 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 Israel. This would be an incredible way of inflaming an already tense situation. This will inflame the Red Sea, this will inflame the Houthis, it will start off and spark off a political vacuum in the Middle East right now. So possibly, even though we look at other state actors that could have been involved if this was a hit, they should also look a bit closer to home for other potential actors and non-state actors that could be in a good position, because Iran has a lot of problems on its own borders with its own neighbours.
That's true.
You have to look internally as well.
Okay, so will we ever? Do you think we will ever find out the truth? Obviously, there will be conspiracy theories attached to this, like it usually is.
My instinct is no. We'll never find out the truth.
No.
There'll be a lot of perception, a lot of persuasion.
That's why I asked you, because my gut feeling is that it happened. We will never actually know exactly what happened. Maybe it was just an accident. Maybe it was something else.
My instinct at the moment tells me it was an accident. Only because I'm used to flying in helicopters and I know the dangers. You look at military training for helicopters, we always get trained for a landing, a hard landing. A hard landing means you're hitting hard and you got to be able to roll. You got, if you're in water, you got to get out of the water, you got to do Duncan training, you have to hold your breath, you've got to escape the vessel, escape the helicopter. Helicopters by their very nature, they call it the Jesus pin. I think it's called the Jesus pin, and we speak to people who are terrified of them. The concept that this thing flies around in this one little clip, and if that comes out, they go, "Oh Jesus, right, the Jesus pin." And I know that because I've been in many of them, and my confidence always comes down to the helicopter pilot, knowing that he's going to get me up, he's going to get me back, and he's going to land. Now, this is very important because we put a lot of faith in these people. But when you're up there flying high, when you're flying and the weather changes very quickly, that's going to have a massive implication on your visuals. If you can't see where you're flying, I don't think the Jesus clip is the only issue at that moment.
What do you mean by the Jesus clip?
The Jesus clip is what holds the whole part together. I think it's the rotor, is it called?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one little clip that holds the whole thing together. Another thing they do, right, when you hear this now, so I've actually been on one of these. Now, anyone out there who's been in a helicopter will know what I'm talking about. It's what we call auto-rotation. So when a helicopter runs or gets into difficulty or it loses power, it will rotate itself. It's called auto-rotation, and it will actually land safely just without power with the rotations of the rudder. But you've got to be at a certain altitude, you've got to be at a certain angle, and when you hit, you're going to hit hard. But I know my friends used to do that deliberately for practice and training to actually land on an auto-rotation. And sometimes we'd have armed police officers with us, and they didn't know we were going to do that. They're just absolutely crapping themselves because they think we're in danger.
They must have been so scared.
So scared, but this is what happens. So at the moment, the world has to hold back for a minute. We're in a very, what we call, delicate state of affairs geopolitically. There's going to be a lot of trouble coming from this, internally and externally, of Iran. But at the end of the day, the world was already in a tense situation. I said last time, there's 40 international elections this year.
And this incident in Iran is not really helping.
No, it's not. This is going to create even more uncertainty for people. Oh, God. So it's going to have it'll have implications.
Just spontaneously, when will all of this end? What's the end game here?
Do you want the good news or the bad news?
I want the good news, man.
The good news is you have to switch off from it.
Okay.
The bad news is it's never going to end.
Okay.
Because it never ends, because there's always states in competition, there's always objectives, it's statecraft, it's all to do with international relations, international systems, people, different alignments, different camps. Remember, this was the best way to explain it. Nothing in this world is the same. Everything's in a continual state of flux. It's changing.
I think we all need some stability. I think that's where most of us just want to go.
Well, Aristotle quoted a great phrase in the Republic when he was writing about the Republic, and he says, politics is about people coming together to live, but not just to live, but to live well. So when we're not living well together, then you have to ask yourself the question, what's the opposite? And this is what we're in right now.
Well, on to another topic then.
Let's go.
Which is actually quite, I think is connected. I want to travel this summer.
Yeah.
I want to go. I mean, summer is coming up. Summer holidays are coming up, but then I feel a bit wary about it because in the family we're talking about we're going to go somewhere, but then the world doesn't feel super safe, and it doesn't feel like you just can't pick and choose a destination and be happy about that. So I googled a couple of. I googled.
What did I tell you about Google?
Well, I googled and I found the Metropolitan Police.
Yes.
And they are, we all agree, the Metropolitan Police is probably a good source of information, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So I was thinking, I want to break this down into, I want to travel. But what should I do? Let's say we're on the public transport, or we're in a square somewhere, or we're somewhere, and either we end up next to or in the middle of a terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? What do I do? What do me and my partner? We're out there taking pictures, thinking about going to have a nice lunch somewhere, and then hell kicks loose around us. What do we do? We're in the middle of a terrorist attack. What is the first thing we should do?
I think the first thing to do is do your research. Whatever country you feel you want to go to that country, do some security checks. Now, one thing I would highly recommend before you do anything is go to, for example, back to the UK, you can go to the FCO, which is a great source, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office.
FCO?
Yeah, it's called the FCO, Foreign and Commonwealth Office in the UK. They have a fabulous website where you can type into your country destination of travel, you can access it around the world, and it gives you up-to-date information about what's happening in that country from a safety perspective. Now, the only reason they can do that is because they have information and intelligence on the ground. They have people in country who are watching the changing dynamics and situations. But remember, everything's changing all the time.
But let's just assume, for the argument's sake, to be honest, if we go to London, or we go to New York, or if we go to Paris, for instance, or we go to Tel Aviv, it can happen anywhere. Nowadays, it feels like. Probably some areas is more likely than others, but I'm from Sweden. We had a couple of terrorist attacks ourselves in the last 15, 20 years. It's like, and that's considered a calm part of the world. So it can happen anywhere. But let's just assume for a second, we're in it. It's happening. And I just want to know, I have no idea how to deal with that as just a normal person. How would you break that down?
Well, the first thing to do, and I always advise this, I call it surviving the red 10. And you've got
the
10.
red 10.
The red 10 because it's red blood.
Okay.
Because as I've been traveling around the world and training forces and working in different countries, remember, different countries and different scenarios have heightened threat levels. But the threat levels are moving all the time. But you've got to know when not to go, and when you should go, if at all you have to go. So what we're seeing now is countries that not normally considered as a danger or a threat, that's actually morphing now. So what you have in countries, you've got what we call centres of wealth, and you've got areas of peripheries within them, which are what we call danger areas. Different scenarios playing out, different social settings playing out. So what happens is, when you're in these situations, or you find yourself on a night out in a country, the most important thing, and this is what I found, when you're trying to get, say, police officers or military people to deal with a situation of what, now you're ready for this now, this is very important that you listen to this, is mass casualties. Mass casualties. Terrorism, from its perspective, wants to create mass casualties. Terrorism is a political activity to enforce a view onto a political government. So what happens is terrorists use victims to create a state, and they become the messengers. They take the message to the audience to be inspired, which is the government. So let's have a look. Where are they going to create mass casualties? Because sadly, in this day and age, when 1 or 2 people are killed, that doesn't make the news. Terrorists need the news. They need justification for their force, which is illegitimate, because only an elected government has the ability and the legal right to use force in protection of the state and its citizens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
So when you're caught up in a scenario as a normal person with your family going out, the first thing you got to ask yourself is, when something happens, you'll know, because our inner state as humans knows when there's danger. We are programmed quickly to understand this is not right. So if you're sitting outside a restaurant, you're watching television, you're having a drink, a glass of wine, and you hear loud bangs, loud activity, people shouting, screaming, this is not normal.
No.
The worst thing you can do is step up and go and have a look to see what's going on.
Okay, so you should not do that.
You should not do that.
You should.
If you need to get away, you get indoors, you get indoors. If you hear an activity that's not normal, you need to move, and you need to move fast. Do not go and look.
Okay.
You need to stay calm. Now, the reason why I say this is important, because if it is a terrorist attack and they're using assault rifles, now you've been a soldier, as I've been a soldier, you know the effect of these things. So what happens is, when terrorists are attacking people, they want the spectacle. They want to get as much power behind the imagery as possible. Okay, so you need to move. You need to get behind a solid object. Camouflage, as we say, gives you concealment, protection from view, but cover, something solid, gives you shelter to hide behind. So don't wait, move, get inside a building, get to the back, barricade the doors and hide.
That's number one.
Number one. Number two, whatever you do, put your telephone on silent.
Okay.
Get your phone on silent, because the amount of times I've watched so much footage and investigated these challenges where terrorists are looking for somebody and somebody's parent calls them to say, hey, are you okay? And they've just given their position.
Okay.
And they've ended up dead. So you've got to understand, and it's going to sound very harsh, this is the fact. You've got to move, you've got to switch off your phone, because here's the next challenge. When we have a terrorist attack, normally what happens in the city, everybody's calling emergency numbers. So
like you do.
Yeah, so what happens is it overwhelms the communication system. So it collapses. So there's actually no communication. Then the only ones that can communicate is the police and the military forces that have to bring normality back. So you've got to understand when you're anywhere and you're going into an event or you're going to a location.
Okay, so let me recap. I'm sitting at a restaurant.
Yes.
It all breaks. It all breaks loose around me. So the first thing I do is to try to move away from where I perceive is where the danger is.
Correct.
And find cover.
Yep.
Number two, turn off my cell phone.
Yeah.
And then what?
Then what happens is stay in cover until till it's clear.
Till the coast is clear.
Till the coast is clear. Now what happens is, as you'll find, and I've seen this in India with the attacks over there, the Mumbai attacks, what they do is, sadly, they start looking for people of Western backgrounds.
Yeah.
So they actually start targeting Western people. They actually go looking for Western people to attack. And that's very interesting. If you're a Westerner in a foreign country, you don't know the terrain, you don't know the locations, you've got to be thinking to yourself, stay quiet, stay calm until the coast is clear, officially. This is why I always encourage in public buildings, when you're actually dealing with these scenarios, they need to have a recording, a pre-recording that you know is true. Not just, this is the fire alarm, in case there's an attack, we know that the coast is clear because they're playing this on the intercom. It's not people going, come out, everything's okay, and start shooting people. I've seen this time and time and time again. So we have to start thinking. But the question has to be asked. If you're travelling in a foreign country, if you're going, like the Metropolitan Police says, making you aware, everybody is responsible for their own safety.
So that brings us back to what you mentioned in the beginning. You have to check out, like you mentioned an example on the UK government website. Yeah. And that was called which?
FCO, Foreign Commonwealth Office. And
so
they give you all countries.
Yeah, so every single country has their own version of that, don't they? Travel advice.
Most will.
Yeah, so they will have travel advice for citizens who wants to travel abroad. Okay, so check out those guidelines.
Check out those places.
And then pick a destination.
Pick a destination, do your assessment.
Safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But remember, even though it's relatively safe academically,
there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantees.
No, of course. That's
we've got to be watching
you.
all this time. We've got to be saying to ourselves, first of all, do the research. What's the likelihood? What's the severity? But I'm going to teach you what we call a dynamic risk assessment. Now, it's an old risk assessment way of doing things, but it's very dynamic. And this will save your life. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So it's what we call SAFER and POP. So what you got to do is, folks, write this down. If you get a pen, write this down. It's very important. This will save your life. So what happens, if anything happens in your environment, the first thing to do is step back. Step back and look at the bigger picture. See what's actually going on around you. Stay calm as best as you can, but step back and assess. So S-A, step back, assess what's going on. Then what we have is P, people. Where are the people? O, objects. What's going on? Do they have guns? Do they have weapons? What's actually going on? And place. Where can I place myself, my family, to get away from these people? So let's go back. Step back, assess persons, objects, places. You need to get away from them. When you see these people, F means find help. Make sure you're going to the right help. E, evaluate your options, what we can do to stay safe. And R is respond, move, hide, take shelter. So step back, assess persons, objects, weapons, place they're in, find help, evaluate your options, what can I do, and respond. That's what we call a dynamic risk assessment. It's an old risk assessment, but it still works well today. Now what happens is, as you're using that assessment, you can keep using until you remove yourself from the danger. So you either move from the danger or get the danger to move from you. But you have to take action immediately. Don't run. If you can see a clear way, the danger's over there and you have an escape route, move. I've seen situations where people are in schools and they jump off the first balcony. They think they're on the first floor and they're not, they're higher. They panic, they get away. Know the building, know the hotel, know where you're staying, check out the environment, enjoy yourself. But remember, and my last top tip, when you go to a country and when you suspect there could be a challenge, my biggest advice is this: find the most exclusive place where all the foreigners hang out.
Okay.
Find out where the biggest congregation of party goers is. Look at that place, study it, find it, and stay the hell away from it.
Okay. Is that... Okay, I get it.
I'm sorry, but I'm a realist. You have to be like this.
Yeah.
The world has not changed. It's always been changing, but we see it across. I won't even mention countries because it's not fair to do that. Everyone thought after COVID-19 terror was finished. No, terrorists, ISIS announced even in that time that they've had their biggest bumper crop of actually recruiting people to help to make attacks. We've seen it across Malaysia. Yesterday there was a couple of Spanish tourists killed in Afghanistan by ISIS.
Yeah.
Now here's my
I was about to
question.
ask you about that.
Why
Why were
are
they-
people having holidays in bloody Afghanistan?
That's a good question.
Why? Who in their right mind would go to Afghanistan for the tour? You're not going down for ice cream and bloody candy floss on the beach. I mean, Afghanistan is an incredible country. It's a beautiful country, great history, has a rich tapestry. But I wouldn't go there.
No.
Why wouldn't you go there for? Everyone understands. You just can't just go everyone. The world is lovely, but not everyone's your friend.
So another way of putting it, if you know the risks, then you just you evaluate yourself and then
Correct.
have the conversation with Seth. Is it worth going or not? Maybe.
Well, the higher strategies, the higher the risk, the greater the rewards. At the end of the day, there's so many beautiful countries out there. There's so many great places to go. And some of the countries that have a bad reputation could be some of the best places to go. You've just got to be aware and realise you are responsible for your own safety. So be observant. I mean, you don't have to go around with a rod up your backside going terrified of everyone, but you've got to be aware. You've got to be aware.
So to round that off, basically, check out the travel advices from your government.
Yep.
For
And
travel
another
destinations.
government, the FCO. I highly recommend the Foreign Commonwealth Office. Also, you can go on to the US, the Central Intelligence Agency, has a listing as well for all countries, and they give you a good indication of what to do, what not to do. But remember, threat mitigates all the time. It goes up and it goes down.
Yeah.
Up and down. So you just got to be a bit aware, that's all.
Well, thank you for that,
Most welcome.
Noel. I need to have the conversation with myself whether I should go or not, and then maybe bounce that with my partner. Maybe we just stay home this summer, but we haven't made a decision yet.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe we just go to Oslo for a cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee in Oslo. To me, I'd love a holiday this year. I mean, I tell you where I absolutely love. Oh, but can I just tell you this funny story?
Yeah, sure.
I have to tell you a funny story. So I was at Central Station in Rome a couple of years ago. I had to go to Rome on I had a meeting at an embassy over there, and I had to fly back out of Rome, Fiumicino that evening.
Yeah.
So I went to Central Station to get a ticket, and they have all these machines, and you just buy your ticket. And it says here, beware of people wanting to assist you.
Yeah.
And there's like a button here, give you directions and help you. Now I'm standing here trying to get my ticket. I don't speak Italian, I speak it a little bit now. And I just thought it was funny because while I'm there, there's soldiers with machine guns everywhere. And it's like, wow, that's a bit like, the threat level must be high because there's a lot of men with guns. That's how you know the threat level is high when you see a lot of police with firearms active. You know, don't hang around there. Right? So I was getting my ticket, and guess what happened? This guy comes up behind me and goes, would you like some assistance? And I went,
no.
I looked at him, and I looked at the sign. And I looked at him again and I said, of all the people to try this on, do I look like I need your help? And he goes, no, I strongly suggest, now I'm going to say some, you Yankee Foxtrot Oscar, which means get out of my of all the people to come up, like, you were so desperate. But that's all it takes. You know what? Here's a shocking factor. The average attention span, they say today, social psychologists say, is 35 seconds. If I can steal your attention, I can steal your awareness.
That's true.
So if they can steal your attention for 35 seconds, they can steal your awareness. Imagine what they can do with your luggage. I've seen this at airports. People have their luggage here. They go to look at it, come back and it's gone. Because you remember people feeding them at the airports. Airports are fascinating places. But just be aware. Ask yourself, why is that person there? What are they looking for? It's a bit odd. 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 Observation, danger, diagnosis. What is that person there for? Do you see? Observe. Is there danger? Diagnosis. Work it out. If not, you're okay. But you just got to be observant.
You just need to assess and observe.
Obsess and observe and have a bloody great time. You get one life.
Okay, you just won me over. I'm going to book some holiday tickets.
Book a holiday, man.
Well, thanks, Noel, for letting me ask these questions from just a normal person's point of view. And thanks for having me on.
No, it's been very enjoyable. I've really enjoyed this. And I'm really, with building the podcast, as I said, this has been inspired by the people out there in the world. I've been traveling for so many years. I've had some great adventures, some bad times as well, as we all do. But you know what, as we go forward, I would love to actually go to some of these hotspots and actually do some recording and show people
that we should go.
Yeah, you as well.
So I'm coming with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll go to some of these hotspots and show how they could be prevented and show you what to do in these scenarios and just give you a feeling for how we actually work with forces and police forces and how. See, just imagine, right, the challenge now.
You know what? I really would love to do that. I'm a bit scared when I think about it, but I really would like to do it.
Yeah.
Can you guarantee my safety?
I can't guarantee nothing. The only thing we can be guaranteed in this world is, the only thing we can be certain of is that everything's going to change.
That's true.
We should be informing the people out there and let them see, take them on an experience, and that's what I want to do on this show, is take people through experiences.
It sounds great, man.
And remember this, don't sleepwalk into danger. Keep your eyes open. I'm a super optimistic person. Why? Because sometimes I'm an optimist, sometimes I have to think like a pessimist. But what is a pessimist? A pessimist is a well-informed optimist.
True. That's true.
And they say, is the glass half empty or half full? No, and I go, I don't know, I just drink it.
Well, I think I'm the kind of person, I think the glass is half full.
Yeah, half full.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, we've got to look at things with positivity. The world is changing fast, but the world is always changing. But remember, do your homework, assess. Remember, if you find yourself in a dangerous situation, step back, assess. Person, objects, place, find help, evaluate and respond from those options, and you will be safe.
Okay. I'll take that to heart.
Absolutely.
And thanks, Noel.
Thank you very much for coming.
It feels a bit better now, actually. I think I can actually readdress the whole holiday question again. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonas. We'll keep him coming. He comes on, he asks some great questions. We enjoy our talks off camera as well, so hopefully you'll come on the next show as well.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. As you know, we're new to this. I promise you we will get better at it. Please share it with your friends. My goal is very simple, to share with you, the people of the world, how you can be inspired to look after yourself, your family. And guess what? If you can protect yourself, you can protect your family. You can represent your town, your city, your state, your country. Hey, let's make the world a better place. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.